All right, we are live. I'm here with Henry tonight. But before we get started, let's align the planets. Um, let's talk about live streaming
Yeah,
because
let's
because
do
you
it.
live stream and I just started live streaming, and before we started this pre-recording, we started to talk about live streaming. And then, just as the stream was about to start, I said, "Hey, we probably shouldn't talk about live streaming until the stream starts." So now that the stream has started, let's stream our consciousnesses into the pre-recorded stream.
Getting real meta. We're getting on like 8 levels now.
Well, the thing about live streaming is you gotta learn how to like catch things as they fall and also like ramp. You
It's
know, you gotta
true.
just kind of like talk at while other things are happening.
Yes. The trouble with live streaming that I found is mostly like attention, and your attention is absolutely shot doing that. I tried with some other fellows in the corner to live stream Baldur's Gate 3, and so I could talk about like a Knight of Seven Kingdoms. One, I was
I
tech
remember that.
illiterate, and I could not actually do that, so it never existed on my channel. So then it just turned into like a let's play on President Foxman's channel. And oh my God, trying to play like an RPG game with heavy dialogue and engagement that you have to be doing, and then trying to hold a conversation with people was the worst thing ever. That was the most difficult task, like kind of conversation I've ever had. I do not know how streamers do it professionally. Like, is it just you play mind numbing games so that you can continue to engage with your audience? Like, how do you do that? And then like big streamers, their chats just like boop, 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 like constantly going. There's too much information, too much input going on there. Because when I'm streaming just on my own, I'll make a point and I want to carry it, but somebody will be in the chat engaging as well. And I feel obligated because they are the audience and I like having some semblance of discourse in any way possible, even if nobody's on the stream to like engage. And then it's like, up, oh, attention gone. Now it's on this. I've lost what I was talking about because I felt the need to like in the moment respond. And it's really difficult. There's too many inputs for live streaming sometimes.
Do you think what you just described? Do you think that's one of the best like modern metaphors for just existence currently in
Yes,
2026?
I'd
Just
say so.
an immediate. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I got drafted onto one of PVK's estuaries, kind of as like a shoe-in, courtesy of Mr. Daedalus. And oh God, I remember doing that, and I remember the chat just being distracting, and people like posting things about what I was saying, what other people were saying, and at the same time, there's like 8 people in that chat or in the actual estuary, and I remember that being just like, I don't ever want to do this again. Frick this! Like this is not it. Like that was my first and my last online estuary. I've never thought or had the compulsion to do it again.
Well, I did an estuary last year with Chad organized it, but it was pre-recorded.
Oh, I had a pre-recorded one with Neil. He did, and that was cool, but because it wasn't live.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's like a strange, I mean, what happened like I was earlier today at lunch, I was listening to myself cuz like I had like a video released and did like a live premiere thing. And I
Hmm.
was listening to myself and I was trying to remember the feeling of like what you and I are doing right now. And it just the way when you're listening to something that is like kind of passive, how that affects you versus like you and I are now having a conversation mediated through technology, but I do feel like present with you
Hmm.
in a very different way than when I listen to like something that you've put on YouTube and I listen to it passively. And then the third category is if you and I were live streaming right now and there was a chat and I was talking to you, trying to be present with you, trying to be present with a few other people in a chat box, and then being concerned about clicking things or deploying branding or switching an image. Like, in one sense, it's wild that we can even handle all of those different inputs. Although I feel like if a woman heard me talking, like a woman that had children, she would be like, that's just raising children, dude. Like, shut up.
I mean, it's teaching for me. There's so many inputs going on often.
are we just trying to like simulate real life? So we just keep adding things on just to try and get it like closer to the chaos of real life. Like recording a video, that's not chaotic enough. We need more
Mm-mm.
chaos.
That's yeah, maybe we are unconsciously doing that because we want this to be as it's not parasocial. It'd be parasocial if we were simply engaging with the content and actively listening and being really informed. Because I could talk a lot about what you said about the, versus passive versus active listening to things, and I will put a pin there, maybe. But yeah, I think we do want to simulate that because there's already so much noise in real life, and we've somehow managed to screw that up and connect. So like, well, maybe we can do life online, but we still need the noise there, and the noise is inevitable. It's funny you say that too, because I've met a couple guys now in the corner, in person, and it's really sweet to have been able to do that. And I'm just kind of like, in a lot of respects, I'm like, okay, now I've met him in person. Now the dynamics changed, and now it's like, well, I could just personally message them, or now I could just like, well, now I just want to see them in person again. Like I almost just want to cut the digital sphere off if it's possible, because it's now that I've gotten a taste of the reality apart from the tech that has bound us together. It's like, oh no, we are trying to replicate real life, but as soon as like the matrix, whatever this is, touches with the actual reality, you're like, oh, this is so much sweeter. Like this is what it should be. Um, and you could talk about that with a lot of different things. I think like online, like relationship building, whether that's the corner or like dating, that's all an attempt to bring and manifest. I don't know if I want to use that word, bring the digital to the real world, because if that's not what like online matchmaking and stuff is, I don't know what is. And then once you're there, you're like, well, this is so much better because this is reality, ideally.
Ideally, yeah. I mean, sometimes the digital like hacks the physical.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I certainly felt that when I was on dating apps, where it was like there was a certain game you could play on dating apps that you cannot play in the physical world to the same degree.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, this game is like endless pleasure. So why wouldn't I just keep playing this game? Because there's no friction and there's so much pleasure available. And like, it's way more than what I have access to in the physical. But you're saying that you want to just cut the digital out.
Yeah.
Why don't you? Or are you?
It's slowly, bit by bit, actually. It's becoming less important, less pertinent, I feel like. When I was younger, I used to listen almost not compulsively, but just my parents would be out of the house, and I would just pace my house listening to comic book podcasts with guys that were doing what we're doing now with like low tech. They would like, this guy would have a Skype call, but because there wasn't screen recording in 2010, 2011 in the way that it used, like we can do now, he'd set his camera up that he'd do for normal videos and just have his conversation, blare his speakers with like the person Skype. They'd like talk about a comic book. It was peak YouTube comic book discussion at the time, and it was great. And I lived parasocially through that because I didn't have anybody to connect with about that. But now that I have people and I know people who are reading these things and engage with this, it's like, oh, now I have it myself. I finally got what I was seeking at 13, 14, 15 years old in some respects. Like earlier, my friend was just texting me. He just read Dark Knight Returns again after a long time, and I just did like a reread of it. And he's given like masterclass analysis I haven't heard from anybody in that book in a long time. And like that exists now. I don't need the digital to substitute that for me. Um, and I have that now with the corner in some respects. Now that I've engaged with some of y'all offline or off of like the main kind of YouTube discourse, I'm like, I got what I wanted. Like I actually just wanted friends to talk to. I just wanted to hang out with people. And I don't actually really, I think most of the time I don't actually care about the thinky talky big ideas necessarily that come up. I'm serious. I'm serious. Like
Yeah,
I would
yeah, yeah.
so much rather listen to like somebody talk about what's just going on in their life and how it's actually pertinent and relevant to what they're experiencing versus this objective outsider well, what if we apply these ideas to these bigger concepts? Like, no, I want to, what are you doing? I want to hear about you. Like, I want to hear what you're doing. I want to hear how you're feeling. I like to hear life updates. And so I've done that with people. And if I could keep doing that, that would be really cool. And so then like the need to like create content for this thing, I feel less obligated to engage because now I'm engaging with them in other means. And so the necessity to fit in or participate in the community in like this kind of space is far less pressing.
I feel obligated to say that like talking about my life in an update fashion is the thing I do the least. Like I actively avoid that on the internet. Um,
I wouldn't
but
do that on the internet, but if there's channels for it offline
yeah,
digitally, that's where I like that. But because it's happening offline digitally, like the whether it's like VMs to one another like privately or like just we've texted and we've sent
yeah,
VMs. And I really like that. That was really
yeah,
fun. And I'm like, oh shoot, I could just talk to Ethan this way. This is great. I don't feel the need per se to create content to connect with him. I don't feel the
yeah,
need to create content to connect to some of the other guys now because now I've done it in another way.
yes. And that like it's kind of interesting in the sense where you're like, so you discover there's this online community called TLC, and that if you want to play, you have to participate. And participate means creating a video or going on a live stream and having a camera turned on, and like you're a part of it now whether you like it or not. But then you go like out the other side of it
Hmm.
and you're like, that was cool, but like now I have like cell phone numbers,
Hmm.
and I actually the digital participation, like it's just the thing I had to do to get here.
Yeah, it's yeah, a means to an end. Because the end is not the live streams. That's it's part of I think the bridge to what should be hopefully more worthwhile and valuable. And that's the same with like other online networking and community groups. So I could apply that to like the Lego discourse that I've been in. Um, and actually, the maybe the opposite example. I've had like issues engaging with the hobby and struggling to keep an interest in it because I haven't done enough of the backdoor stuff with people. I have like one or two people I keep up with, and only recently I got to see that one guy again, and we like palled around and hung out, and all that made me want to do was engage with him and with that hobby again in a way I haven't done in like months. But that's because I don't have a lot of. There's not a corner space there per se, unless you're part of like a team of people, etc. Um, and like Lego hobbyists and their conventions, they become friends and that's that stuff. And I just don't have that per se. If we want to look at like a very different example, but like unlike the corner, unlike TLC, there's not as much. I've had much as like swapping numbers, etc. Some of that is like can only handle so much of the hyper specialized interest of people who are in the Lego hobby. Admittedly, it gets a little much when that's the only connect. I'm serious. Like there are some people I've met where I'm like, I can
Oh, you don't
only
gotta
see
tell
you at
me.
a.
You don't gotta tell me. I mean, I know one of you, and one of you is enough.
It's
30 of you Lego folks, I don't.
it's rough. I'll be at a show and I'll be like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this for a while. I got so I quit for a little while too. But some of that's there's not enough there connection wise. I think maybe the other pro of like the quarter is because I think what we're talking about on the live stream on a video hopefully lends itself to then being able to create a meaningful connection that can be like a swap number and now you are hearing about their life because it's predicated on something more valuable than a hobby, like just a general hobby.
Wait, what is the thing that's predicated on that was deeper than a hobby?
Uh, Life meaning, I guess, since we're all doing that, like it's meaning crisis and stuff. Like you can have like a shared hobby and it becomes something more, but if it's only just the shared hobby, you're not working off of a lot of stuff. But I think there's technically more to work off of here in the light, like in this land, as connection points with people to create more relationships, or it might be easier to do that per se. It's a better conduit, I suppose. Because again, if all this person knows how to do is talk about Bionicle, and I've never heard anything else come out of their mouth other than Bionicle, God, I'm gonna really struggle to figure out another way to connect to them. Conversely, we're hitting on all these things here in the corner all the time. Like, surely eventually there'll be a couple different access points, and those conversations are technically more vulnerable per se because they're more pertinent to the things that matter: meaning, purpose, connection to God.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like in some sense, like the hobby part of you is just like it's further from your center than
Mm-hmm.
like I mean even the kind of like the navel gazing part of you is pretty close to our centers. Like I spend a lot of time thinking about what am I thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
and that is like very navel gazy. What am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this? And then you engage with other people that are just like thinking out loud, and there is like an intimacy to that that is deeper than a hobby, even though you would technically have more things to talk about specifically with a
Yes.
hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so earlier this year you made a Lego video that like blew up.
Yeah, I did.
Like
I
you
did.
got like some pretty good numbers
It's
from whatever
it's
100 subscribers you had to like.
yeah. It was like, I don't know. I hit like 1,000 views, and I was kind of insane because I learned that it hit a bunch of Discords, Lego communities in rotation. My editor in chief for the Lego blog I wrote found it because it got posted in a chat he was in, and I was like, hi, I haven't talked to you in a little while. This is what I'm doing," which turned into a conversation about how to get back into it. And I appreciate that, but I'm not proud of that video necessarily because I didn't want it to blow up. I wanted
Why?
it to I wanted it to be relevant to the quarter. Whoops. I was trying to ultimately hit on the idea of engaging with like how our discourse and a relationship to these entities is affected by their actions. And I thought that would be more relevant and helpful to the quarter in some way. And then it just turned into everybody getting like either like validated by my comments in the Lego community or being mad that I was tired of a corporation doing things and how I need to get therapy and help so that I can continue to enjoy the hobby. Like, it was not what I wanted. It was not what I freaking wanted at all. I wanted like you guys to be like, this is really interesting. Let me like translate it to something else we're talking about. I didn't want it. I wanted like, so then I'm just reading comments of like, yeah, I quit collected. Like, Lego is so expensive and not worth it. I'm like, okay, but like, can we talk about how, our discourse communities are affected by the powers that be, these corporate entities? Like, we can't engage with this content without being inextricably connected to their things. And maybe I didn't articulate that clear enough, but that was not the message I wanted to get across. That was not what I wanted. Some guy said, "This was a great video. I'm not going to subscribe to you though because it's not about Lego, the rest of your channel." And I was like, good, because I'm not doing that.
I'm just imagining someone watching that video and then clicking into your failed Baldur's Gate stream and being like,
Oh
"What is
God.
this, man?"
What is this garbage? Like, or anything else? Like my early thumbnails? Like, no.
Okay, so I want to. There's a part of the video where you talk about Lego and Pokemon that I want to
Yeah.
circle back to because that was. I think I wanted to talk to you again this year in a recorded fashion because we spoke last year. But
Hmm.
when I heard that, I was like, "That's the thing I want to pick Henry's brain about." But before I pick your brain on that, I would love for you to make the pitch that you. I'm not gonna say failed at making, but
Yeah.
got swept up by the Lego community and taken away. What is the pitch from that video for the corner?
Okay. Yeah. So the
What's the
pitch for the
thing that you
corner,
wanted the corner to hear?
um, that which we engage in, whether it's our special interests or hobbies, and it's even technically like what we do in the corner, like bigger names and what they're saying. um, what they do influences ultimately how we interact and engage with one another, and that either creates positive engagement or negative engagement that creates an increased association with identity with it, or a decreased and wanting to drift away and not associate with it. I don't know if I froze up or if Ethan froze up, but that was my pitch. It says it's recording, but Ethan is frozen. Uh-oh. And now there's no live chat to recover it either. Oh no. Oh no. Now oh no, there's no live chat to like recover this. Ah. Yeah, there's no, you froze. There was no live chat to engage with, to spitball with, to fill the dead air.
Well, like up until the last 30 seconds, I was talking into the microphone and it looked like the audio dots were going. And this is still recording.
Yep.
And I don't do any editing, so I don't know what it's going to look like.
Oh, it's gonna
on
be
the
funny.
other side of this.
I'll panic.
I'm not going to remove it.
This is great. I panicked. I said, this is now we're in trouble. There's no live chat to interact with, to technically like take up the torch of the thing. Cause I've done it before. People have frozen and I have like, my internet works. So I'm like, I guess I'm running the show now.
Although I will say, the Lego gods might be out to get you, because this is the second time they have thwarted your pitch.
Eventually, either they'll be like, we want you to work with us on your marketing and PR, like come join us. They're there, like, thank you. Or they'll be like, you don't know what the Danish Empire can do. Like,
because it was literally like you like started to speak the pitch and then everything just crashed.
They'll be like, it's a good thing you're changing your plans about going to Denmark this summer. It's a good thing other things came up. They'll be like, we know you have something you shouldn't have.
Did you steal that from a Lego store?
No, I bought it. I bought it from a guy who did some buying and selling and stuff.
Where'd he get it from?
Some guy.
Did he steal?
Facebook,
did he steal from a Lego store?
I don't know. Anyway, he's mine now. This is one of my last like white whales that I've been looking to acquire for years.
Yeah, it's a cursed object. You brought a cursed object and put it by your bed.
Well, he's normally on my shelf over there, but I thought the camera would actually see it better, so he'd just be in the background. But you know, it's actually, I had it all. I was ready.
All right, make the pitch.
Okay, let me do the pitch again. Our discourse between people, between communities, is inevitably and inextricably connected to and will be affected by the decisions of those that are creating more prolific content or are merely the ones creating. And so we have the choice whether to either create our own thing or to break away. And what they're doing will either positively or negatively influence your engagement with that community and with those entities themselves. And you just have to be very aware of that which is being presented very broadly. I think that's it. Because my whole thing about that video was I'm getting really put off by the decisions from the marketing of the Lego group in their push for an adult market, both in terms of the actual promotional material and then of course the products, their pricing, and who they're merging and what they're enforcing or reinforcing kind of with what they're creating and producing. And because I spent a long time doing writing and reading and research on early marketing and specifically internet trends for the Lego group, for blog stuff that I'm really freaking proud of. That's some of my best work. And so to see that which I engaged with, that I grew up on, marketing and stuff, to see such a departure from all those values and ideas really rubs me the wrong way. And I don't particularly like engaging with Lego in a lot of respects because of that. And that was what I was trying to get at, is that the powers that be determine how we engage or how we not engage. To which then it just turned into, please get therapy because Lego is good and you are being over dramatic.
Okay, so what has changed in the marketing? Like what were the early days like, and what is it like now?
So when I was growing up, um, early magazine content and then budding YouTube was all really grassroots, felt very fresh with a lot of creative freedom from the directors and those who were doing the work on it. And I've written stuff about it, and I could yap about it, I suppose. But it was targeted at the value of the brick, I suppose, like just that the piece and the potential for creative play and imagination. So in the early viral content on the first like proto Lego channel, the guys that did this work, they were like, we're going to go to a skate park and we're just going to see if we can like, run an ollie off a tower of bricks. And we're just going to increase the height for these guys and just see how many Lego bricks they can ollie. And what that was doing was saying that you can engage with this brick and this mode of play in a myriad of different situations and settings. They did it at a skate park. They turned their whole like studio.
I'm sorry. I have this image in my head, and it's taking me back to high school, and I keep thinking about what you're saying, except it's those like finger skateboards, and they're
Yes.
ollieing, but it's like not really a human. It's just these two fingers. That was a very intrusive thought. I apologize. Keep going.
Well, that would be a great example of what you could do with play in that respect too. That would actually that's spot on. That's a spot on connection to what the kind of
And
stuff that
then
would be procured at the time.
halfway through the ollie, you flip the camera from the fingers doing a flip to then a human going over a huge tower. Yeah, yeah, okay, I'm tracking. Keep going.
No, don't freeze again. No.
No, I hear you. Are you frozen? Okay, this has got to be your fault. This can't be my fault.
Oh my God, I think that was my fault. That was my fault.
Ah.
They don't want us. They don't want me talking about this. I'm
No,
too
they do
close.
not
to this.
want you
I'm
talking
too
about
close.
Lego. Someone's gonna open that door behind you and like drag you out.
That's my bathroom door. They're gonna come through that way. Oh no.
That's where I would come from.
This is spooky.
Dude, this is just a normal StreamYard recording for me. It always just pauses and freezes on me. It's always just an utter disaster. I kind of love it though. Like,
This is so spooky. Okay, now that was Ethan's fault. Now,
yeah. You can blame it all on me. I'll take the heat.
what if I start talking about something? No.
Okay, so let me pivot slightly. We'll talk about Pokemon.
Okay, we can talk about Pokemon. Well, I think Pokemon also probably has the same issue right now, interestingly enough, because who absolutely warped and changed the market and the nature of engagement with those cards in the last 5-6 years?
The Boomers.
The Boomers, but Logan Paul did it first. Remember, he got rich off that essentially and made that.
Wait,
a
were there
trend
actually
to which
Boomers?
There are Boomers that have gotten into. There's a bunch of these like weird scalper like Gen X guys who are like trying to make a quick buck and grift. But Logan Paul kind of set off the big Pokemon collector craze in 2020, right? He's like, I bought this like $1 million card and I bought this rare box, and then that stuff shot up like crazy, and the market for that stuff since then.
This is a cursed recording, but we're not going to stop. I refuse to stop. There's a curse there. There's a curse descending on us slowly.
I'm not allowed to be anti-establishment, anti-corporate, apparently.
Well, we are using corporate products, and they can hear everything we're saying, and now they have artificial intelligence to just auto freeze us.
I hate that, man.
Well, welcome to the rebellion. I'm going to frame this like we're in a rebellion, like we're really important, and we're talking about things that are so important.
Can you make it look like Andor? Can I look like a character from Star Wars Andor?
Which one do you want to be?
I don't know. I could be Andor. Oh, I could be Stellan Skarsgård's character, Luthen. What have I sacrificed? Everything. Like I could be that. I just want to be a rebel. That's what I want to be. I want to be a Star Wars rebel. Yeah. Or I could just be like a rebel trooper.
Yeah, yeah, I could see you. And I see you in a plane.
I have my helmet right there,
I think
right
I
there.
think you'd be a good Y-wing fighter.
Here, I got my X-wing helmet. Maybe if I can wear that and talk
Okay,
about
fine. You can
rebellion.
be X-wing. You can be X. Please,
Sure.
will you please put it on?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so we're in the utter land of chaos. Henry's going to put on a helmet, and we're yeah,
I'm not
this
gonna
is
be
what
able
we're
to hear
doing.
for squat or see for squat for the rest of this, but that's okay. All
Oh,
right,
for
we're
the
gonna.
for the you're committing for the rest of this.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh
Um,
no, my little chin strap broke.
should I go put a hat on?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Ugh. All right, I've been in this rebellion since I was like 7 years old. Here we go. I'm wearing a corporate product that promotes rebellion. Here we go. This is it. The chin strap broke. That sucks. Okay, I'm in.
No, it looks cooler. It looks
Very cool.
like a
Looks like I'm.
cool kind of casual
There
sort
we go.
of. Because if
I'm
you had it
gonna.
strapped, that's too serious. You're not in a
Oh yeah,
fighter.
yeah, yeah.
We're just we're casually making rebel plans, and at any moment you might need to dash away and
It's true.
strap up as you're sprinting.
It's perfect. Here, I got little sound bites. We're locked in. We're ready. Okay, now we can talk about rebellion and anti-corporate sentiments and how Pokemon specifically has really changed and I think has done a disservice for kids too in play and engagement with that, just with the way adults have commodified or made these kids products something for them to become like grifter lucrative businessmen off of. And the Lego stuff is kind of that way too.
I see the assassins have failed. I am
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
True. You can't take me out.
Okay, so I'm up north in Wisconsin a couple months ago,
Mhm.
and I'm in a grocery store, and I look up, and I see a Pokemon card vending machine,
Yeah.
and it's like the middle of the day, and there's nobody in the grocery store, so I start like chatting up the checkout guy, and I'm like, "Hey, like, what's up with that Pokemon card vending machine?" And he goes, "Oh, it's empty right now." I go, "What do you mean it's empty?" He goes, "Well, the guy came." I go, and this guy's like not altogether there, so it's kind of a strained conversation, but worthwhile. I was like, "Who's the guy?" He was like, "Oh, the guy that comes like 3 times a day." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, he comes and looks at it, and then eventually he buys everything." I go, "There's a guy that comes to this grocery store that looks at the vending machine multiple times a day and sometimes just buys everything." He's like, "Yeah, that guy." I go, "This is normal." He goes, "Well, I know that it happens other places too." I go, "There are people in grocery stores just buying out Pokemon card vending machines, and you're nodding your head like you know about this.
Hmm.
What is this?" Because
This is
also,
the
when I was in Washington, there was a Costco, and I was there at opening one day because I was unemployed, had nothing better to do besides go to the grocery store 15 minutes early, and the parking lot was like half full, and I was like, "How is everyone in Washington unemployed and just like bumming around?" Um, and I went in there, and they were all like kind of like running, and then there were these huge Pokemon packs, and they were filling carts with them.
yep.
Well, yeah, tell
Yep.
me more about this.
It's Logan Paul started it. He made that more lucrative as some sort of investment. One, COVID hit, and so everybody's bored, and so you have a bunch of Gen X millennials, engaging with this again and creating kind of an adult interest in this stuff. To which then it just carries on, and then it becomes right. Well, this stuff is valuable. My old cards are valuable. It's kind of what the comics boom was in the '90s when everybody thought their like Spawn #1 was going to be valuable because the 5 copies of Action Comics #1 that exist are worth $1 million. But now, like actual artificial scarcity and this weird kind of chase card, rare card market just does persist and exist. And it's spread to other trading card games too, even temporarily. So, like the Pokemon market, where you could just buy like however many packs for yourself as a little kid, like I used to be able to do, you can't buy more than 2 at Target. They're way more expensive, especially if you go to a game store. because of the demand for these things, because of their value collectively in these resale markets is ridiculous. I have a card that I purchased because it's a character I like, a Pokemon that I thought was cool when I was dabbling in the game for a little while. This card's like $75. And then the US version, this is a Japanese card. So it's like Japanese text. This is like a $150 card in the in the US printing. There's way more expensive ones other than that. Graded cards, getting a card graded is a big deal because then you're like sealing the perfect condition in this plastic and apparently it brings its value up.
What is grading?
Grading is you take it to these people and I have one for a Star Wars card that's worthless, absolutely worthless. They'll evaluate the condition of your card and they'll determine whether it's like gem mint 10, like pristine, it's never been messed with, etc.
Like if there's like rips and tears, you're saying?
Yeah, or like something weird with like the production, like the cut of the card, or it's been handled and played with. And so they evaluate and grade them. And so like a 10 pristine card is always, it's seemingly worth a lot of money, but it only depends on the actual card per se. Like, and the market favors certain Pokemon, for example, over others. Like any super rare Charizard is going to be a lot of money, or any super rare Pikachu is going to be a lot of money, or like Eevee and like the Eevee like Pokemon evolutions, those are going to be big money. It's a mess. It's a whole thing. And so now, and in like Florida, there's been so many these like little like basically like trading card bazaars that set up shop on a weekend, and people bring all their big money cards to sell at their tables, and all these people bring their their cash to go buy and sell and trade. I've participated in them for like the One Piece card game. It's a whole thing. But this was not happening as when I was a kid. This was not a thing. It was, oh man, I sure hope I can like get a cool card because I spent like my pocket change on like a pack. And now these kids, like these like 10-year-olds will be like, yeah, I'm here for like this really rare card. Like I want to just like purchase it. I can't wait to pull it. Like this whole like culture around this collectability in this way, and less so even just like the play, but just like this card is valuable, therefore I need it, is very like conformist consumerist. And Lego is getting there too. Uh-oh. Wait. Yeah, Lego is getting, I was just waiting for the connection to.
So it's like, I mean, at what? The
It's
part
not
that made me
fun
laugh.
anymore.
Well, the part that made me laugh, we were like, yeah, you're gonna get your cards downgraded if you play with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me of like when I was a kid, my grandfather sent me like a truck, and I like opened it up, and then we called my grandparents, and they were like, "Does Ethan like his present?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm playing with it right now." And they're like, "No, you don't play with it. Like,
Yes.
it's supposed to stay sealed. It's a collector's." And my parents were like, "It was never going to stay sealed. Like, why would you give a child a thing to like
Exactly.
it's to be played with?"
Mm-hmm.
But this is like gone.
It's going away. So like
and-
everybody is just Al from Al's Toy Barn in Toy Story 2. Like that's what most of these formerly kids play children's content stuff has become. And Lego has become that too. And is there an irony in me complaining about this with stuff behind me? Perhaps. I have to live in the tension of that, but
I mean, in one sense, I feel like this is the same thing that has been complained about in many spheres of just like video games with loot boxes, and the arenas of play turn into gambling dens.
Yep.
I mean,
Or
I
it
don't know if
becomes
that's
about essentially like a stock market. Like Lego is less gambling, but it's very much a stock market. It's all about what sets are you investing in. Or if it's not that, my problem with like the Adults Welcome initiative is all the marketing, and it's like, this is to make you cool. You're 35 with disposable income. You too can have the Twilight house with Edward Cullen minifigure on your shelf in your lovely home. And you're like, what? It's like, and you too, Mr. Stranger Things fan, can have the Stranger Things house with the upside down on your really expensive countertop. And look how nice it looks in the promotional image. Like what the marketing when I was a little kid was doing for kids was saying that Lego is fun to play with and it's really cool and there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. What marketing today now is saying is that you become cool because of the stuff that you own. you are now cool because you have Rivendell on your shelf in your premium dining room. You are cool because you have this like Lego brick recreation of modern art that people in the fan community were doing recreations of 20 years ago, but now it's cool because you can buy it because you didn't make the effort to create it, because you don't have the creative energy to do it. That's the other thing, is that it's taking away that like agency and ability to create and build. And as somebody who has spent 20 something years of his life building and playing with this stuff and creating like my own stuff, when people engage with this who are like, we'll call them normies, they're like, oh, you just love Legos. Have you seen the new Lego flower set? And you're like, yeah, I have, but like that's not cool or exciting because it's an item and it's a status thing. And that's not the case all the time. And that's me being like very not generous. There's a therapeutic value in building. I like it for that sake too. I'll purchase, like one of the fancier display pieces for somebody if I know they like building something. But when that becomes kind of the core of the marketing, and marketing is key, right? It just bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think I'm pretty much sold in the marketing for the Lego One Piece thing. I don't even know what it is. I think it's the Going Merry.
Yeah.
I feel like I've spent years of my life watching 1,500 episodes that I'm probably just going to spend. I don't even know how much it is. It's probably a couple $100, but I'm probably just going to
Yep.
buy it.
Well, I have the Baratier. That's what that is right there. The like Garp's like restaurant ship. That's what that is.
Yeah, I'm experiencing covetousness right now.
But the marketing for that though is still kids, because those are like kid design sets. So it's the little animations of the set and them doing things and having an adventure. And that's a little bit different than like the still frames of like, an adult being like, wow, and like building it wrong. Like nobody ever builds a Lego set the way these adults in these photos build them. They're like holding it up. They're like putting the brick on because it has to look nice. You're like, get out of here. This is not how this works, you know? And
It's
so
like
the
it's
marketing is
simulated.
different. It is simulated. My problem is less with like the One Piece marketing, because that's for kids. Those are kids sets for kids. My problem is the adults welcome stuff, and I just don't particularly appreciate or enjoy that. I not enjoy that. Like I just don't think it's something kind of wrong about that. That like we have to make Lego cool for adults because blah blah blah. Like
But
it's not cool otherwise.
is it to make it cool, or is it to continue the stock market? And I could be pulling threads because I have no clue what I'm talking
No,
about.
yeah, let me think about that, because I'm trying to track the actual like progression. So Lego Group was trying to really branch out to adults, I think, earlier, like even before this happened with like architecture. So you could buy like the Sears Tower and some stuff very early on in like 2010, 2011, and like playtest was well received, etc. And so architecture evolves into kind of the adults only market. And you had some really big primo builds back in the day too, but those felt like dime a dozen. Those were prestige. I've
What
got
is
a
a
couple of
primo
those.
build?
Premium. Sorry, that's me just saying primo. It's like premium. That's my slang. But like
But what
these
is
were
it? What is that? What is a premium build? I have no idea.
they used to be very detailed for what was at the time, using kind of community build standards and sensibilities, and for build design. It would be at the time the largest sets were 1, 2, 3,000 pieces, but they were rare. You would get maybe one of those a year. It was a big deal in 2007 when the 7,000 piece Millennium Falcon hit the shelves. Those things were not common, but now they are very prolific, right? I can't point on the camera. There we go. This Baratier is like an adult set. This Rivendell is an adult set. These came out within the span of 2 years. Like this is just the norm now. It was a treat. It was really special to see really advanced build techniques in a product 20 years ago, because this was a part and maybe reflective of the budding Lego community getting better with the brick and doing what you can with the possibilities. But now I feel like everything's been flattened out. And it's like, well, now everything's just looks like you could have seen it at a convention built by somebody in their basement or with their own bricks. Because, and for the better or for worse, like everybody has evolved to become more comfortable with this stuff and more parts are developed. But like this, would have been the coolest thing in 2005. people would have lost their mind at this. Everybody, because it would have been built by somebody there, like a show. It's cool, but it's not like I could still do something more impressive as a builder on my own, technique and part wise. But we've just kind of flattened that out. It just doesn't feel so special to be engaging with something like this before, when everybody can just get their $300 like set, or like the flowers, which are nice, I guess, but like when that's just so frequent, constant, like I just, some of the value and the creative potential is not lost per se, but I think is lost to the general public when such premium prestige looking builds that would have been premium prestige 20 years ago are just the norm and commonplace. And maybe that's a weird thing to complain about, but
Okay, well, this is where it takes me to, because this morning early, my mother and I were talking about apple pie, because I was I was trying to purchase online elastic free cotton boxers, but I wasn't precisely sure what my waist size was. So my mother had a like a long sort of like old school tape measure that's like, it's like you wrap it up in a circle kind of a thing. And so then I measured myself and found out that my waist is a 42, and I thought my waist was a 36. And this explains why when I was at Goodwill last time, the 36s didn't fit. I was convinced that the pants had just shrunk because they were at Goodwill. I should have known that I had just grown. But we were discussing apple pie and how 100 years ago, having an apple pie would be an event. It would be special. Today, you can eat Walmart apple pie for 3 meals a day, every day of the week. And modernity has made that possible. And one of my theories is that, like, we essentially killed time to where, like, if you've ever made an apple pie from scratch, it's like it's a good amount of work. It takes half a day. And there's a version where it's cool that you can go out and buy apple pie, but it's kind of like having pornography on your iPhone. It's really hard not to just do that all the time because it's frictionless.
yeah.
And some of these same things, that's where my brain is going when you're talking about Lego sets.
That's really good. Yeah. I built this big cyberpunk display as a kid in high school, and it took me about a year of on and off building to put that together. A year. I had to source my parts out of my collection. I had to buy parts from like the local store I used to have near me. And I was really proud of that. And I displayed it for like 2 years, but technically you could buy something of that caliber for like $300-$400 in scale, and then have a shorter build time, a year versus however long it might take you to build it.
How long would it take you? Could you do it in a weekend?
I could do it in about 4 or 5 hours. Because I build fast.
So like the average person a weekend,
Yes, the average person a weekend.
or a week, even a week compared to
A
a
week, yeah, compared to a year. But also there's instructions, et cetera, and the parts are given to you. But that process of having to source parts and look for the things, and there's a lot of experimenting, et cetera. Like I've tried to build like Batmobiles or other cars, for example, and that's really tough to get like what I want to do for scale and parts and stuff. I've sat on my floor with my bricks for like 4 hours, and I've done nothing but build like maybe a chassis, and I've pulled the chassis apart, and I've pulled like the hood apart, and like all I have is like a hood and like the chassis to show after 4 hours. But it's kind of worth it. Versus I bought like just to try it out, one of the recent Lego Batmobiles that just came out. I'm like, that's a nice scale. It's really cool. I'm glad we're finally fixing the scale and some of the parts issues, but like that took me maybe 15 minutes to build. And it's far less satisfying. And there's far less that like, I don't know if you ever had this as a kid with like your toys or whatever, where like you'd be playing with them, but sometimes you'd be like, this is so cool. And you would just like look at it from different angles, and you like get on the floor and you'd like look at it. Like that's the stuff that you do when you're building that stuff on your own and you're really putting in the work.
Yeah, I've been thinking about play the last couple weeks, because at my church we're building this space, And one of the things we're talking about is like the seriousness of play, which is like that's like a Peterson thing with like Peterson and those weird little rats and those rats that want to play with each other and they want to keep playing. And how do you have a nice little weird little rat hierarchy where everybody keeps playing together? And so like it is a serious thing because even in the beginning when we were talking about like, oh, there's these people that are playing over there, like I want to go play with them. How do I get to play? And then you begin to like jump in and play only to realize that like play was just the beginning of a thing. It wasn't the end of a thing.
Yeah.
And so much of the world around us, at least it feels to me, is this like this simulation it's a really, really good word. And there's a sense that like, yeah, it's really cool that everybody can build Rivendell in a week. But something is actually like taken away, the experience of playing for a whole year and all of the like discovery and imagination that takes place in a year is taken by the corporation. But there's also a version of this where you could be like, oh, that's just like anti-corporate talk. Like, look at the world around you. It's incredible. And that's also true.
A lot of the designers that are doing these really nice prestige builds were fans and builders as kids in the community 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. And so they're not coming from nowhere. They're coming from the grassroots stuff. They're coming from, from the hobby, which is interesting. Which is also why the techniques evolve, is because these guys, these kids, now adults doing the design work, figured out how to make and do really sophisticated work with sometimes very primitive looking bricks and stuff.
Because you've said two things. One of the things you said was that like, this digital thing, I kind of just want to get out of it. And you also said like this Lego thing, I'm just not sure how I feel about it. I kind of want to like get out of it, change my relationship with it. And those are both like, well, they're not entirely negative things, but like, I'm kind of curious, like, what are you moving towards right now? What are the things that are like grabbing your attention and that you're excited about? Like, what does it mean to live a life that's not digital or not corporate? Or how does somebody get out of this simulation if it even is a simulation?
Yeah. I think relationship stuff is really the big thing. And that's a bunch of different ones. It's like a romantic relationship. There's family stuff. I've been like, for example, like really getting back in touch with my roots and where I grew up. And I never wanted really much to do with any of it for a long time in college and all that. And now that's kind of all I want, because I know it's very rough and I know it's very, very itself and hasn't changed a whole lot. It's a lot of bar hopping and enjoying, whatever music's playing on the radio and like at a waterside space or going outside or, being on the water. And all that stuff is really grounding and stuff. And I want to engage with that more, with people and even with like in a church setting too, because that's a really important work's being done. And it's not at all connected to the digital space. And so I guess that's what I'm pulling towards is that, and I've used technology and I've used some of that stuff as means to get to that recently. And I think that's what I'm moving towards. I hope that recorded. I can't see, so I can't tell if Ethan's still there or if he's frozen.
I'm really good at being still.
My eyes are really blurred. I can't see.
I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. No, that recorded. That was beautiful.
I want the I don't know. You ever see It's a Wonderful Life
It's been a while.
starring James Stewart?
It's been a while.
It's my favorite movie.
Really?
I don't
Why?
rewatch it necessarily. I don't rewatch it necessarily, but it's my favorite movie. Um, because George Bailey, I resonate with this George Bailey as a character a lot, and I really did in college too. I wanted adventure in a very particular way, and to do great, grand, big things. And what is that movie all about? He's not allowed. He stays in one space, and sacrifices a lot of what he thinks is the most valuable stuff: grandeur, adventure, travel of some sort, and instead uh, takes upon his shoulders the well-being and welfare of his community. He almost, I think, to technically unwittingly falls into this marriage that like the feminine presents the choice and he kind of accepts it in that moment, and then has a family and does that. And the end of that film says what you did was worthwhile, and you just haven't been able to see it, because the last, like, the little sentiment that Clarence leaves is says, no one is a failure who has friends. And the whole town is there, rejoicing that, one, he hasn't offed himself, or that he's like freed from this debt, that this force, the corporation, right, Mr. Potter, who steals and takes the little money to like keep the thing alive, to keeps it, that gets him in trouble with like fraud and like being potentially arrested. Like, he's saved from that by the community that he was blind to. He was saved by the community that he did so much for and that he served, without even realizing it. And I don't know, that makes me, I don't cry, but like that makes my heart just kind of like I don't know, I want that. And I've had that before in a small sense. And I'm in a spot right now where that's being pruned and taken away. But I want that, and I think all that's so much more valuable than, I could sell this Lego stuff or get rid of it and be fine, if I knew that I could have the George Bailey life. There you go.
Yeah, one of my new things is just telling people that like I'm gonna die here. Like I live in Southeast Wisconsin, and like I'm gonna die here. Like I'm not leaving this region. Like, and like I do mean it. I hope that it is true. I mean, you don't know where you're gonna die. You don't know what happens. But like embedded in the like I'm gonna die here is I want to build a family where the kids don't want to run away and don't like
Mm-hmm.
that they don't want like dread coming home for the holidays.
Yeah.
Because there have been times in my life where I dreaded coming home for the holidays. And in some sense, I don't even think it was because I didn't like my parents. I think it was just like the culturally cool thing to do was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, my family is such a bother. Like, oh, I got to go home for the holidays and then I'll come back to the big city and everything will be better once I'm back in the big city. And I like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, obviously, like you have a kid, and then your kid grows up and goes away, and like it's completely not controllable. But I want, yeah, like what you're talking about. I also like want to strive for that. I think it's buildable. I think you can become the kind of human being that like has influence on a community full of other kinds of human beings that are influencing the community, and that can be so rich and so vibrant that people don't want to leave there and go somewhere else forever. There's value in going away and being like, oh wow, the grass actually isn't greener on the other side. But there's also value in like being rooted.
Yeah. I'd like to be rooted. And I think that some people try to do that in the corner. And I think that's happening, but it's not quite the same. Well, you create content that is meaningful, that generates discourse, etc. You'll have your hot girl of the week through PVK or somebody, but that's kind of a flash in the pan, and it contributes something, but it's not quite the same as the very long rooted, really painful, slow moving, kind of like real life kind of process. And I think as difficult as that is, you get glimpses. I've had glimpses, right? You look back and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize how important that was. And thanks be to God that I didn't screw it up because I didn't realize how important it was. But to intentionally put yourself in those positions, I think is really worthwhile. And if that means rejecting, because the other thing too, this is status. This is becoming a means of wealth, etc., or well-offness. What good is that? One, without somebody actually kind of like appreciate it, engage it with, because like, it's cool. I like looking at this stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but like, if there's somebody else who shows up, and for whatever reason the stuff has to go, like I'm gonna pick the person over the thing. Like every day I would do that, and it's, so like, so there's that, and I think that's maybe some of the. I thought about this too, of like, the like delayed childhood kind of situation. That's what some of this is. But I think some of the delayed childhood situation maybe comes up because no one presents this delayed child with the opportunity to become the adult.
I was kind of getting chills, to be honest, when you were talking about that.
Because like, I'm hitting a point. God willing, I'm hitting a point where I feel like I could really step into that unknown, and I know that means like the hobby goes away. That means, the silly trading cards that I like to like play and engage with would go away. But holy smokes, like I would sacrifice that like that as needed. And then people will be like, well, you don't have to give up your hobbies for somebody. They should appreciate that. I'm like, but that's not the point. Like, it's not about like them liking or disliking it. It's that the priority changes.
Yeah.
I've been able to do this hobby and engage with this stuff for so long because nobody's come up to present the opportunity to do something more. And I don't think there's been anything wrong with what I've done. I'm wearing an X-Wing helmet, sitting around like, you know, this is what I'm doing. But like,
This is what you're doing. Yeah, this is what we are doing. We are doing this.
but I'm paying my taxes, and in some ways, I'm a caretaker to 150 students, and there's adulthood and responsibilities there. But in the domestic sense, in the very personal spheres, there hasn't been the call to that yet. And if the call presents itself, you either have the choice to, I suppose, dwell and remain in Toyland if you want to use some like very kind of ancient kind of thing, whatever. Not ancient, but just very old kind of reference. Or you can like sacrifice that stuff. And I think that you should. And I think that's also what peeves me, I think, about some of the collector consumer market, is that we're just kind of delaying the childhood, but not in like this way in which I just like am wearing an X-Wing helmet, like chilling and hanging out and talking about life. It's more like I'm going to use this means of childhood to be an adult in grift. It feels kind of like Wheels of Isengard, taking something and making it unnatural. There's something wrong about it.
Well, it's Wheels of Isengard meets Peter Pan. Because it's you can make money being Peter Pan. You can
And I don't like that.
monetize the Peter Pan.
I think that's
and
wrong.
then you can create a culture of Peter Pans that are just turning the wheels of Isengard, and all the while there's orcs coming up, and everyone's just like, no, there's not. We're just playing over here. There's nothing going on. Don't look over there. Don't look in the pit down there.
Yeah, the orcs are, extorting the children of their pocket money for cards and not allowing them to play. And I think that's wrong. I think it's very wrong. And you should be coming out of that, becoming the adult and giving them the opportunity to play. Like, I guess maybe the benefit in the future, we'll see, God knows, of like having some of this stuff, like that it would just be theirs to play with.
That's what I was thinking about. I didn't want to put like pressure out there, but that like the thing I was thinking about was like, yeah, but like you could also just like put it in a box and be like, someday I'll get to bring this out, and it's gonna mean 3 times what it ever meant to me.
And it's yeah, and then you get to see there's continuity now, there's a legacy. It's now a shared access point within the home. Like that's the stuff. Like these cards, like my like Star Wars cards that are up here, these things will be worth jack squat in like however long. But like if, God willing, if you have a kid or whatever, they show up and be like, all right, you want to play this stupid old Star Wars game with your old man? Like, I'll teach you. Like, I haven't played these cards in 20 years. We'll see if I remember the rules. Or like, you can look through them. They're yours. Like, that'd be really cool. Be really cool.
You said that like nobody had like given you the call,
Yeah.
and I'm curious, like, because the way you're talking, like as I'm hearing you, I'm like, I think you've heard the call. Like I don't know where you heard it, but like, does somebody need to give it to you, or like, do you already have it?
I guess I have it. I suppose the idea is like where do you plant yourself once you have the call? Like, I guess I have it. And so if we want to talk about engaging with tech, matchmaking apps, dating apps, ways to connect with people is the adventure in seeking out somebody who will, like, I guess, embrace that and be like, all right, you did it. Like, you did the quest. Like, you've been on the quest. Here's the completion of that. I guess maybe that's what that makes more sense. Like, the call has existed. And I think that other people have those signals as well, right? It's like, I'm lonely and I don't understand why I can't meet somebody. And they're like cursing children out at these stores and swatting them away for their card. Like, there's a reason why. Like, there's a call for you too, but I don't think you can see actually what you're supposed to do. But I'd like to think that I could sacrifice, like, this stuff could be sacrificed immediately upon the altar when the quest is completed. But the choice or the act of actually being able to do that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. I'm going to ask you the final question.
Yeah.
And there's actually going to be a bonus question. Normally I don't do a bonus question, but we're going to do a bonus question.
Okay.
But so the final question. Well, no, I got to do the bonus question first. So the bonus question is, I mean, I feel like this, like, sometimes conversations just like, they just wrap themselves up. And this was like a really, like, I mean, even with all of the technical snafus, like, it's a really beautiful arc that you and I just kind of traveled down.
I've loved this. This has been some of the best DLC content I've made.
Well, and there's a beauty to, a private, quiet room where the chaos of the live stream isn't there, and you can kind of just drill down into something. And so the bonus question is, we finished our conversation. The thing that was supposed to happen happened. Is there anything that you want to do before you get the final question?
Like right now, like actually do?
Like, do you have any questions? Do you want to talk about anything for 10 minutes?
Oh,
or are you happy? Are you content? Are you ready for the final question?
I'm content because everything I like beat around the bush with like Call to Adventure stuff, I'm not actually going to divulge publicly.
Well, and we already talked beforehand about stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you afterwards, I'm sure.
Final question.
Yeah.
This is going to be called Henry and the Quest for the Holy Techne. It's part of an ongoing series about the quest for the Holy Techne. So the final question is, did we find anything holy?
Yeah, I think I found a better way to articulate what I'm questing for. And it's not tech. It's not the digital. The digital can be used, but it's not where it ultimately lies. And it may have to be sacrificed. The tech itself might have to be sacrificed, or whatever tech adjacent thing that we might associate with might have to be destroyed, given up.